146(1) says, a justice of a superior court or chairman of the regional tribunal shall not be removed from office except for stated misbehavior or incompetence or on ground of inability to perform the functions of his office arising from infirmity of body or mind. It says, have you seen anything about Chief Justice there? And most of these petitions were against her. Araba Tokono, a superior court judge. But it happens that she was also acting as Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. And because she was occupying the office of Chief Justice, the Constitution says that when it comes to such a superior court judge who also doubles as Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, don't pass her through this process. Let her go through this process. The determination should be made in terms of the prima facie by His Excellency the President in consultation with the Council of State. Because you cannot have the office of the Chief Justice being occupied by a superior court judge, again interrogating her or his own case. Absurd. In any case, so that is the law. The law is very clear on that matter. Then we also have the case of Frank Ajechum, where it was clearly decided that if you are occupying the position of Chief Justice and you are also a superior court judge, you are taken through the processes as laid down Article 146. You cannot possibly say that the processes only relate to your role as Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. That is why if I read Article 146(1) out for you. Did you hear anything in reference to the Chief Justice? It says superior court judges, stated misbehavior, infirmity of body or mind. So you cannot possibly be taken out as a superior court judge or Chief Justice on these grounds, and you want to go and continue on the bench as a superior court judge when there are established facts of these allegations. So be rest assured that this is also going to come out as the many other cases that they filed. It's not going to go anywhere. The legal principles are established already. And I do not expect the court to do anything on the contrary. And this is something that the court can take a matter of days to handle. It is not any complex legal issue. And I can understand. They say that when you are drowning, you find ways of holding on to straws. That is what our madam is doing. Okay. And it is only proper that we allow her the luxury of space and time to continue to explore legal avenues in her view, and especially with the advice of her counsel, that they feel that would be helpful in terms of that particular trajectory they are going. But I can assure you that the government and the Council of State and the Commission were quite meticulous in the kind of work they did. They followed the constitutional injunctions of Article 146 to the letter. And if they feel strongly about processes, the only way is to go through the court. And I'm glad that she's doing that. And I commend her for taking that route. But I can assure you that, Moro, nothing is going to change. This country has moved on. And in no time, His Excellency President Mahama probably would be announcing the next Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. Okay.
Let me also say that Paul Adomatre has joined us. Paul Adomatre is host of Good Evening Ghana.
Yes.
Obviously, he's a journalist, and he's joined us this morning for conversation. Paul, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to see you.
Thank you very much.
I hope you're doing well.
Viewers.
Yeah, I hope you're doing well.
Yes, I'm good.
Yeah. All right, so we'll take a short break. When we come back, I'll pick Paul's thoughts, just as I did with Hamza on the thank you tour by Seydou Nketiah, and whether there are any issues there, whether it's much to do about nothing or there's more to it, and then I'll pick his brief thoughts on that before we look at the Tokono matter and get him to share his perspective on what Tokono is seeking to achieve. Please don't go anywhere.
Are you a headmaster, headmistress, parent, teacher, or an educator looking for high-quality textbooks for preschool, primary, and junior high school students? Look no further than Advocate Publishing Company. Advocate Publishing Company is a leading publisher of educational materials in Ghana that publishes very engaging, interactive, and comprehensive textbooks that meet the needs of students, teachers, and parents. Our textbooks are thoroughly published to make learning fun and easy. They are also designed to stimulate critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity in students. Make Advocate Publishing your preferred choice for all your educational needs. Explore our range of textbooks and educational resources. Visit us at the old GNTC yard near Kingsway, Accra. You can contact us on 0503 786 776 or 02408 06354. Also 0531 600 360, and connect with us on Instagram, X, and Facebook at Advo Publishing. Don't settle for less. Choose the best. Advocate Publishing Company, empowering young minds one textbook at a time. Thinking Publishing, think Advocate Publishing.
In life, choice is good, but choice plus safety is way better. Your safety and comfort is paramount. Under the cylinder recirculation model, you can buy LPG in a safe environment. All cylinders are inspected and maintained to the best safety standards, so your safety is assured. Just take your empty cylinder to the nearest exchange point and swap it for a filled cylinder. Different cylinder sizes will be available to meet your pocket size. Imagine cooking in a smoke-free environment. This will improve the health and well-being of you and your family. Choose LPG in a safer model of distribution. Cylinder recirculation model. Securing your safety, creating more jobs. A message from the National Petroleum Authority under the patronage of the Ministry of Energy.
Promo! Your most preferred estate partner is given a massive 20% discount on land sale. Yes, for our Founders Day promo, Estate Masters is offering this special discount for outright purchases up till the end of September 2025.
Purchase your tracks today.
This cuts across all our available sites, and upon purchase, you get to enjoy a free indenture and free site plan. Our site visits are also free, so rush now and secure a plot of land while this offer lasts. Estate Masters, your most preferred estate partner.
Wabedum tamaso. Hey, Jay. Watch it, na learning. Missy, watch and learn. Mekwaya mabesisia. Abozege. Akache say no ya konate and the more drink woman. Hey. But I didn't mean. Oh, sorry. She knew her old days. Eji. Dabi o, baby wom. Ready? Hey, baby wom. Ah, Eji. I'll cause some discomfort. Sorry, well, uncle, where would the dad? Why your funeral? At your phone for Aerofield Trading. Sorry, it killed them all.
No mum share nanda danya was mosquito call esudu womunumu. Na say spray with them musa. Try sima edronum ansana ko dynamo. And kratoi FDA ajatum.
Some loves are born in the blink of an eye.
I've been madly in love with her since the first time I saw her. Then let's get married today.
I'll be the happiest woman in the world by your side.
And they kill your soul in a flash. Televisa presents You Are the One. Angela dreams of keeping her promise to be a great doctor and help her people. To Alvaro, ambition is stronger than his dream. And this greed will lead him to commit the worst betrayal to the woman he loves.
I will have a husband no matter what.
Samantha, will you please marry me?
Turning all her dreams into painful disappointments and dangerous consequences.
I've been waiting for you to answer my calls, Alvaro. I haven't heard anything from you. I've sent you so many messages, but you've never responded.
Have you left the bus station?
I just want to pay my debt and get out of here.
Her photographs are going to sell fast, and she will be our gold mine. Our clients will love those.
Are you looking for a boyfriend? Are you all right?
You are the one. Proudly sponsored by The Luckiest, Appointed Time Printing, Time Herbal Mixture, Samu Spices, Givers Herbal Center, Blue.
Still watching Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. I'm here with, my name is Aldo Moro. I'm here with Mr. Paul Adomatri. He is the host of Good Evening Ghana. He is a seasoned journalist as well. And also Hamza Suhaini is a private legal practitioner and also a member of the ND6 communications team. And as you can see on your screens, we're live on 94.1 FM. That's an alternative for those of you who can't watch us on TV for whatever reason. We're live on 94.1 FM. And so for most of our news and current affairs programs, it's 94.1. Yes, Paul, I was just curious to know what you, because you're a political historian, you like to share insights about development in, political parties and so on and so forth. I mean, when you heard about this Asedun Kiti's thank you tour, which has now been explained by persons close to him, is that it's just a follow-up on the promise he made during the campaign, last year's campaign, that President Mahama, would not be able to touch base with almost everybody that he had gone to basically beg for votes, and that he would do that follow-up, and he's doing exactly that. And so people should stop reading meanings into that. But what's your view on this matter?
Thank you very much. I think that we had discussed this in the run-up to the 2024 election, the potential positives and negatives of all of the candidates who were running, especially President Mahama and Dr. Bawumia. And one of the potential negatives that was expressed about President Mahama's candidature was that if he were elected, he will be doing a one-term. The reason why that was a potential concern was that if you look at the constitutional arrangements that has been put out in the 1992 Constitution, you will see that the arrangement is such that the operators of the Constitution, that's Ghana and the Ghanaian political scene, will be changing presidents every other election. So if you go to election 1992, the one who wins 1992 is likely to run for the 1996 election, and after 96 to 2000. And then if he's able to win, he'll be there 2 terms, and then another one comes, and that's really what has happened. Now, the danger is that where the president is running in his second term, so I'm referring to January 1997, when Rawlings took the final oath for the second term, and therefore he's not eligible to run for the 2000 election. We saw the process. As soon as the 1997 handing over was over, groups were beginning to emerge within the ruling party about the future, about the succession. It's commonplace, it's normal in every political situation. In America, they will have it down. If it becomes clear that Donald Trump is not running for 2028, groups will emerge as to the succession. And political party people are always going to differ in who should be the successor. They are hardly going to have a 100% opinion. Now, that process affects every government in terms of your performance and in terms of your delivery. But it is anticipated that you will be in your second term. So you may have established certain things that can keep running, because naturally it is a cost to the democracy itself. It's an opportunity cost to democracy itself. For democracy's own sustenance, we must have that disturbance. That's the philosophy. So that we can sustain the process, there has to be the disturbance, which is that people are going to coalesce around opinions for the succession of the president. So in 1997, our first experience with it, the NDC, which was the ruling party at the time, observed that this is potentially dangerous, and that Rawlings was leaving, and people were coalescing around Guzi Tano especially. People were coalescing around ministers. People thought that there would be the return of Kwesi Botwe to lead the party, all of that. So the elders of the party were concerned about this. This was the first time we were confronted with this kind of situation. What did they do? They decided to go to Flight Lieutenant Rawlings and urge him to end the conversation by declaring, and he was the supreme leader of the party in terms of the founding it and all that, so he had a very powerful voice, to end the process by declaring that Professor Mills was going to be the running mate. Now, he did this as early as 1998, 2 whole years before the election.
You're talking about the Swedru Declaration.
The Swedru Declaration. Now, once he made that declaration, the matter ended. And then we went into 2000 elections. NDC didn't win. but the disturbance to the government was reduced significantly because of that announcement by J.J. Rawlings. And the fallback was that Guzitano and co actually left the party and formed their own party. And that affected the NDC in the year 2000 elections. Then Kufuor became president. Between 2000 and 2004, there was government stability because it was obvious that Kufuor was going to be on the ballot. And so within the MPP, the ruling party, there were no people coalescing around an opinion and dividing themselves. There was nothing like that. Kufuor was going to run. The MPP, I believe, passed a resolution in one of their congress that when the sitting president is running, you don't need to have a congress. So they went through that process smoothly. Then Kufuor took the oath in 2005. As soon as he did, second term of the MPP, the government was going to be disturbed. It's a cost to democracy. So the coalition started around Alan Chemartin, Nana Akufo-Addo, Hackman Oswajiman, Michael Quay Jr., Michael Quay Sr., Yao Safo-Mafo, and all of these people. What did Kufuor do? He became very concerned and began to engage publicly that what is happening. Then he decided that, look, if any of my ministers wants to run for president after me, leave the office by this date. And then you saw a mass resignation. The first time we've had it, and we've never had it before, a mass resignation of about 12 to 14 ministers on one day, because this was going to disturb the government. Now, this kind of
disturbance... And that's where the popular don't speak ahead of time statement came from Kufuor.
The democratic arrangement, this disturbance is supposed to occur every other election. Yeah. And so we went through it in 97, then we go through it again in 2008. And then came Professor Mills. So Professor Mills ran, and he was going to run for another term when he won in 2009. So there was no disturbance of the first term, which is usual, and the government was stable. And then President Mahama came in. President Mahama came in, and then he was also running for 2016. So there was fairly stability within the context of the government. There were some small concerns, but it was fairly stable. Akufo-Addo comes in, and then he runs up to 2020. So between 2020 and 2024, we have had that kind of disturbance where after Akufo-Addo took the oath, there was a concern about the MPP stability. Alan Chemartin was running, the vice president is running. So you have disturbance, but they have some programs that are stable. You have a Greek minister running. The reason why you naturally will have this disturbance is that if you're a Greek minister and you must have a meeting with people towards the pursuit of policy, but you are told that the constituency chairman in a constituency that you really want to win is looking for you, and it's in Samamboy in the Western region, you will go. And so you are going to have divided attention. That should occur in a second term where programs are already running. However, this situation, so Akufo-Addo comes in with 2020-2024, we have that problem. Then we elect John Mahama in 2024. Then the next election cycle, you are having that problem again. That is where Ghana is losing. That's the danger. It's not a danger to NDC, it's a danger to the stability of the government. And it's a cost to democracy that is necessary for democracy sustenance. So we find ourselves in a catch-22 situation. There's nothing that we can do about it. But it's a story, a lesson that we learn for the future. Because naturally, this government is going to have a stability problem. And more so because the people who are interested in the succession are very key and core to the movement of the government and its policy. Chief of Staff. That's a very powerful, important position. And this is the first time we've seen a chief of staff who is so affable, like Julius. People like him. People are calling on him. The youth are following him when he's running. They want him to become president. And he's chief of staff of the government. Then you have a Greek minister. Then you have as key a person as a finance minister in a first term running for office for president. That's devastating. Your chief of staff is competing with your finance minister for the succession of the president. Then the party that is supposed to give stability to these things, call everything to order and say, look, we are the NDC party. We put you in the government. This thing you do, you have to stop. That's not going to happen because the chairman of the party is also eyeing the succession. So that's a problem. I hope that civil society experts and pollsters are looking at this difficulty. It's a problem that we have to take because we need it to sustain democracy. But it's a problem that is intended to occur every other election cycle. Here we are having a back-to-back, and that's going to be devastating. So when I saw it, I was just hoping that it will start, but it will start late. But here we are. Before 1 year is done, a Greek minister some months ago indicated quite clearly, polls are showing that Ato Forson is doing very well. Polls are showing that Idrisu Haruna, who has actually not stepped forward, is leading. He has done very little in the public to indicate that he wants to be president after John Mahama. But the polls show that he's leading, and that means that there's a big call on him from the grassroots to come into the race. What portfolio is he handling? Education. Such a critical portfolio handled by such an important person would have to have some ifs, buts, negatives about it because he's running for president. So Johnson Asiedu Nketiah's thank you tour, it doesn't come to me as a surprise. He wants to indicate that he is the alter ego of the process. He wants to indicate that he's leading the process. He wants to show the rest of the people that he's in command and control of the party infrastructure. That's really what he's doing. And you can't begrudge him for that. Now, the narrative that has come from Asiedu Nketiah's camp, which is in support of the thank you tour that he's doing, says that there was a three-pronged election campaign approach. There was President Mahama's approach, the vice president's approach, and the party chairman's approach. Yes. President Mahama's approach and that of the vice president were both directed at winning votes for the presidential seat. And the party chairman's approach was winning the parliamentary. So what Asiedu Nketiah is trying to put out in this narrative is that whereas President Mahama won the presidential elections, it was he, Asiedu Nketiah, that guaranteed the supermajority that the NDC have in parliament. And therefore, the NDC owes him something. That's really the point that he's making. And he may have a point in doing so because he knows the party better. He's been through the deep roots of the party. He's been the eternal general secretary of the party before he became chairman. So yes, he has a point. So, I mean, really, we can't do anything about it. Ras Mubarak can shout all he wants. This thank you tour is going to happen, and the grassroots are excited about it. Now, guess what Asiedu Nketiah does on the first day of the thank you tour? He tells the people, he knows that there are the concerns about appointment. He knows that the government will be able to give appointments to fewer people than many. He knows. And he knows that has happened. So his first message is what? Those of you who didn't have appointment, your time is coming. When is your time coming? Your time is coming in my time. That's really what he's telling them. That don't worry, it's a 4-year cycle. If you don't get appointment, you elect me, we win 2028, that's your time. Now that's going to generate more votes because those who didn't get appointments are more than those who got appointments. So straight away, he started cutting the party into pieces. And I don't know what we're going to do about that.
But to the extent that he's not a government appointee, does that matter too? None of them are saying anywhere that they're interested in leading the party in 2028. So aren't these analyses that we're making a bit premature?
Well, we've been here many, many times. So we know, we can see it. We know it when we see it. So we know when somebody is running for president. We know even when somebody wants to run for president 20 years later. We know. When you were last parliament, when Samia Oko and Pon Nkrumah Nko came to parliament, there were talks like that. So as for political observation, politicians don't hide these things. They may not say it, but they don't hide it. So it's clear that Eric Opoku is running for president. It's obvious that the chief of staff is running for president. The Johnson Asiedu Nketiah, the party chairman, is running for president. Case Lato Forsen is beginning to have meetings running for president because you can't have these meetings in secret. And the NDC in parliament is looking this way, that way, because they look at each other in terms of the color of their succession. Are you Julius or you Asiedu Nketiah? Are you Julius or Asiedu Nketiah? So there's Julius DCs, there's Asiedu Nketiah DCs, there's Julius MPs, there's Asiedu Nketiah MPs, there's Julius deputy ministers, there's Asiedu Nketiah deputy ministers. And this is a government that's less than a year old. I am worried for Ghana.
I see. Hamza, you don't want to be tempted to continue to have a conversation.
No, but you see, it does not mean that I don't have an opinion on what Paul just said.
Right.
And for me, that has always been the problem with this country, in all honesty.
Right.
It is not just the political class.
Right.
To a very large extent, it has to do with many of us who also run commentary.
Right.
We set our individual agendas, and we seek to force down the truth of many of our compatriots, dressing it up as though it is actually the standard of what to look out for, especially when it comes to our political discourse. I have listened to him very carefully, and it is quite clear that what he has presented this morning is his view of what is happening within the National Democratic Congress, and you cannot fault him for expressing those views. But in any case, all these individuals that he has referenced are tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that this government succeeds. The Chief of Staff of the Republic of Ghana, Julius Debra, Honorable, has a role to play in this government.
Right.
So when you wake up on a daily basis and you see him attending state functions on behalf of His Excellency President Mahama, it is simply because that is his job, that is his responsibility.
Right.
You can decide to do the spinning and put any form of interpretation on his actions or his role. But that is the job he has been tasked to do by the government. Now, you reference our national chairman. He's the national chairman of the National Democratic Congress, for crying out loud. Party activities ought not to come to a standstill because we have been elected into government. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the national chairman still trying to hold the grounds on behalf of the government. Indeed, this is not the first time that this is happening. Even after President Mills, in 2008, when we won, there were issues with the party at the grassroots level, though many of those who felt that they were sidelined in terms of appointments. The party went on an outreach when His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama was sitting president to galvanize its support base and to assure them that the government was rolling out policies to ensure that we're able to deal with many of these concerns at the time. So the fact that we're in government does not mean that party work must come to a standstill. But like I indicated, so if you see the chief of staff moving, or you see the minister responsible for education, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, doing his own things, mandated or directed by His Excellency President Mahama to act, and he is doing same, or the minister responsible for agric, it does not mean that they are positioning themselves to become leaders of the National Democratic Congress.
Right.
It could be, it may not be as well. So that is why I'm saying that, look, I can understand the zeal, the enthusiasm, especially by our opponents, to create some kind of conflict or confusion as a result of an impending contest within the politics of the NDC, all intended to derail or frustrate the efforts of this government to concentrate on what it is actually meant to concentrate on. Look, we will not be deviating, we will not allow ourselves to be deviated by their antics.
Right.
I can assure Paul and the NPP that we would go through this electoral process, if the time is right, and elect a candidate that we would all be happy about and support as a political party. Because we have that track record.
Okay.
We have that track record.
Right.
And when His Excellency President Mills was chosen as flag bearer, he eventually became President of the Republic of Ghana after 8 years.
Right.
Same with His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama. And it will not be different when it comes to whoever succeeds His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. But like I indicated, until then, we have a job to do.
Right.
We have a social contract with the good people of this country, and we are committed to that particular social contract and implementation of that particular political contract. But as for assumptions, perceptions of who wants to succeed His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, we would leave that to the likes of Paul and the NPP to continue to dabble in that politics and actually not be concerned about what is happening in their own backyard, which is the challenges they have in electing a flag bearer. So, Moro, like I indicated, let them work. The national chairman is on the ground. He's working for party. The Honorable Chief Chief of Staff, Honorable Julius Deborah, is on the ground. He's working for party. When we get to that bridge, the National Democratic Congress will make a choice. Our grassroots will give us a direction as to who would be leading the party into the 2028 general election. Until that is done, we can only be listening to the perceptions and effusions of those who feel that this shouldn't be the standard. In any case, when President Kufuor in 2007 demanded a resignation from ministers who wanted to become flag bearers, many of us argued then that it was a bit too late because it was barely a year to the election. And it does not mean also that in the politics of the NDC, if today we get to that stage and people are going to file nominations, His Excellency President Mahama will still leave them at post. Absolutely not.
All right. Okay. Paul, the second matter that we broached this morning had to do with justice talk. So I think we're done with the thank you talk and matters around.
Point about lawyers saying that the NDC have done it before. Actually, this is the first time the NDC are going to do something like this in the history of the Fourth Republic. in terms of a real contest for the presidential succession. This is the first time the NDC is going to have that situation. The succession between Mills and J.J. Rawlings to Mills was very well, perfectly arranged. The succession from Mills to Mahama was perfectly arranged. In the intervening years between the time Mills was an opposition leader, he won all these elections, one against Pio Gabra in the main, one against Eddie Annan.
That was a major contest for the National Democratic Congress. You remember that Pio Gabra? Alhaji Mahama Idrisu contest with President Mills. So it is not accurate to say that this is going to be the first.
No, the outcome doesn't show that it was a major contest.
But that has always been the politics of the NDC.
At this time, it's not going to be like that. That's what I'm saying. This is the first time they're having this. So you get my point. Yeah. The outcome of 80% win for Professor Mills in those contests. Nobody's going to win this contest by even 60%.
Who thought President Mills was going to get 80% in that contest?
Oh, I knew that. That was a reporter, and I knew that. It was very obvious.
No.
It was very
obvious.
We
were active. I was an active member of the NDC then.
None
of us, look.
The NDC establishment.
Was a major force. No. Remember, that was the time that there were suspicions that President Rawlings was even behind Pio Gabra.
And that is when the Ato Ahoyes exposed Rawlings to the point that Rawlings's penetration in the NDC has never been significant. He's a supreme leader, but in terms of knowing who a constituency chairman is in Kintampo, Ato Ahoy had that information. Right. Rawlings didn't have that information. Right. Those of us who were reporters that knew what was happening. J.J. Rawlings's support for Pio Gabra was only going to be tacit, verbal, because he was a supreme leader. The penetration of the NDC at that time in opposition was really held by the Ato Ahoyes and those who had done the party work. Kwame Pepres and all the original organizers, they all worked to Ato Ahoy. So there's no way that a Jerry candidate was going to secure even more than 10%, and that's what happened.
But
so
how come the Jerry candidate of 2000 and was after his presidency was declared? The flag bearer president, how come President Mills was declared as the sole successor to His Excellency President Rawlings?
Well,
and why was it not forcefully rejected?
Well, if you read my book, that was also organized by the Ahoyes. The Rawlings's Swedro declaration was organized by the Ahoyes. The departure of Guzitano. I was with the Reform Party all the time. The departure of Guzitano was in reference to what Ato Ahoy and Co had done against him.
You need to do more work on when it comes to the politics of the NDC. Even the Tamale Central contest that we just had. I remember telling Manasseh Azure Ewuni when he called and he was asking about the potential, the likely person to lead because of how heated.
Let me finish.
No, just quickly. Okay. How heated the contest was. I told him that if you are a follower of the NDC politics, our contest sometimes appears quite competitive, but the results gives you a different picture, and you begin to wonder where that competition was.
But you are making my point.
So you are looking at this current contest, and you are thinking that it's going to be competitive. Yes, the contest will be competitive, and that is not the first time that we are having a competitive contest. That's why I reference the Mills contest against Pio Gabra and Alhaji Mahama Idrisu. And you made references to the fact that Mills won by 80%.
As a reporter at
even
that time,
this
that
contest
was not
we are going to go into, I can assure it was very competitive.
No, it wasn't.
It was. You know that it was very competitive.
For me, I see two things.
Do you know the only competitive election NDC had is a competition in 2001 for the chairmanship between Obed Asamoah and Alhaji Idrisu at Trade Fair.
Right.
That was a competition for chairmanship.
Yeah, but Paul, you know what?
In terms of presidential candidates, if he's a member of the party, so if he's assuring us that we shouldn't worry, we will see these things, but somebody will win by 80%. Fair enough. He's coming from the belly of the party. But if no analyst will make that projection.
Yeah, but it's Paul.
Our NDC
I think that the two of you agree there was some competition.
No,
but how
competitive it was. That's the point I'm making. I'm talking about the extent of the competitiveness, given the outcomes that came.
Okay, I get it.
But that's how you look at it. I'm telling him not to 200 years later, outcome because that has always been.
So when you say this is going to be the first time,
when you're talking about competition, if 200 years later people are looking at these analyses, or if we are looking at the results between Kwame Nkrumah and JB Dankwa in 1960, we were not there. We will look at determine whether it's competitive or not based on outcomes only.
Yes.
We don't determine that it's competitive or not based on I was on the campaign.
Approach to adopt. I can assure you, even
but that's the only way you look at.
Science students will not do.
Was 2024 selection competitive? 2024 selection in Ghana. No, lawyer, that's not correct.
Your analysis is based on quantitative. Say so.
No, the analysis of whether something was competitive is based on the outcome.
No,
it is.
Any political researcher would not limit an evaluation of an electoral contest to just the quantitative figures, the numbers.
No, the outcome. The outcome. 2024 selection.
The results.
Americans who are looking at Ghana's 2024 election, that is why we say that he won by a landslide. That's an assessment of the competition.
Right.
Please, that's an assessment of the competition. So when we say that he won by a landslide, no, that is the fundamental way to assess whether there was competition or not. So if you look at, if an American journalist is looking at Ghana's 2024 election, he will say that John Dramani Mahama won Ghana's election by a landslide. That means it was not competitive. We don't say it's competitive because we were on the campaign and Dr. Baumia had a crowd. I interviewed Elizabeth Ohini about the 1969 election. And she said to me that that was one of the elections that shocked her as a graphic reporter because the crowds that now the new alliance of liberals was getting at the Accra Sports Stadium and the outcome that came, it completely shocked her.
So
the outcome of the 69 election.
Political researchers would give
Can I finish, please? The outcome of the 69 election, the data today shows that Prime Minister Buzia won a landslide. It was not competitive. The outcome of the Ghana's election 2008 was fiercely competitive because there was no first round winner. It's the outcomes that we use to determine. It's not I was there and I was there. It's the outcome.
If I observe the processes leading up to an election, and I say, when I observe how this competition is going, it looks like a very competitive elections. Will I be wrong? Do I need to wait for the results to come out and say, oh, apparently there was not even competition at all?
Yes, so what you say in before the election comes is that it appears to be competitive. When the results come, once you have the results.
The results for me.
So if you look at the history, if you look at the NDC presidential results, it will be obvious to you that it has not been competitive. The NPP also has some results that were not competitive. Nana Akufo-Addo won by 84% in 2014. That was not competitive. But in 2008, Nana Akufo-Addo failed to win a first-round victory that was fiercely competitive.
If you play back my voice, you hear me saying appeared competitive. That election appeared.
But that's why
emphasis on appears. You see, and that's the point I'm making to you. Now you are creating an impression as though the election we are going to have to elect the successor of John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency, is going to be competitive, something that we've never experienced before, not based on any quantitative figures, because the outcome is not yet out there. You do not have the figures. And I'm just reminding you that many of us held similar views in that 2004 contest, or 2003 rather, contest to elect flag bearer for the 2004 general election, where Spio Gabra and the likes of Alhaji Mahama Idrisu contested against President Mills. Many thought that it was going to be, the outcome was going to show a close contest. It didn't. And that's why I'm telling you that be careful. Because now you are making references to the likes of Haruna Idrisu, blah, blah, blah.
And be competitive.
Look, it does not mean that the outcome would show a competitive race. My history with the NDC is such that sometimes our campaigns appears quite competitive. But when the election results are finally released, you begin to wonder where that competition was coming from.
I see that point. But another point that is novel that must be made is that this is the first time the NDC is having sitting ministers and sitting key appointment holders run for president. It's never happened. That's a fact.
That's true.
Yes, so if you look at that, you can then project where this is going. But if he says that whatever happens, it's natural with the NDC, somebody will win 80%, I'll challenge him that nobody's going to win that contest by more than 55%.
Okay. All right, so Tokonu.
I'll get through. Yes, I think that she's doing the right thing, as lawyer said, going to court, and so that we can establish the basis of these things. For lay minds, if you look at the reading of Article 146, it is obvious that Article 1463 recommended a certain process for the removal of a justice of the Supreme Court, and Article 1466 recommended a process for the removal of a Chief Justice. If the constitutional framers intended us to read those clauses together, perhaps they would have said so. What she's challenging now is that the process that undertook was a process that was towards removing her as Chief Justice of the Republic. That there's a separate process towards removing her as a Justice of the Supreme Court. But the dismissal warrant from the President suggests that she's been removed from both. That during the process of the process in the committee, she knew at all material times, and her lawyers knew, that the process was towards removing her as a Supreme Court judge. She perhaps was not told. And in fact, when the publication was made, there were legal experts who indicated that has the Chief Justice been removed both as Chief Justice and also as Justice of the Supreme Court, and then the government, in response to that, published the warrant, which was signed by Callistus Mahama, I believe, and which was very clear that she had been removed from both. So if you have two constitutional articles referencing a removal process for one and the other. And a person goes through one of these processes and is told that it's been removed from both, and she's going to the court to test it. My only concern is I'm wondering why she didn't go straight to the Supreme Court, because it appears that she's raising matters of significant constitutional interpretation. But I'm guessing that she knows what she's doing, and so the High Court will look at it. But I'm hoping that the Supreme Court can have the opportunity to look at it so that we can settle it once and for all. If the Supreme Court comes and says that when a process undertakes under Article 1466 to remove an individual as a Chief Justice, we should understand that process to be removing that person as a Justice of the Supreme Court as well. Then that will be the settled law. But until then, I'm sure that we will wait to see what happens. She has other complaints about the processes itself, about human rights issues. She's tried it once. The courts have said that it's an Article 146 process and they cannot look at it, etc., which disappointed some people. But let's see how she takes this on. And she also still has one application pending at the ECOWAS court, I believe, final determination on whether the government of Ghana will owe her money or not. The Attorney General has already indicated at the bar conference that the government of Ghana's jurisprudence is not to be guided by all of these foreign entities who write and talk. But we don't know, in terms of the protocols between the ECOWAS countries, the value of an ECOWAS court's decision. Is an ECOWAS court understood to be higher than all the national courts, and the Federal Supreme Court of Nigeria, the Ghana Supreme Court, the Togo Constitutional Court, Cote d'Ivoire Constitutional Court? Should we understand the ECOWAS court to have a jurisdiction higher than these? I'm not sure what the protocol says and why she applied to it. Or is the ECOWAS court there to just make pronouncements without having the power to enforce these pronouncements? I'm not sure. So it's an area that we should look at. But the sentiments about the removal of the Chief Justice on those matters, I think the jury is still out there. And perhaps it has become a political question. It's no longer a legal question. It's a political question.
She argues that the responses that she submitted to the president in respect of the 3 petitions were in respect of allegations for her removal as Chief Justice and not as Justice of the Supreme Court. Now I quote, "The purported prima facie determination, a copy of which has to date not been provided to me." She's still expecting the basis for the establishment of the prima facie case to be given
But
here.
if it's true, she doesn't have that, then that's a big problem.
Yes, was in relation to the petitions for my removal as Chief Justice and not as Justice of the. And he said Justice Tokonu further argues that the committee was set up as stipulated under Article 1466 of the Constitution to consider whether or not to recommend her for removal as Chief Justice, but not as Justice of the Supreme Court. But Paul, have you heard those who have also said that this matter is an open and shut matter? It's decided, it's clear. And he, in fact, before you came, Hamza mentions, whilst you were here off air, Hamza, for instance, mentions the Judicial matter. There's also the Justice Bega matter, Ghana Bar Association versus the Attorney General, must have been something 1995 thereabout, where that matter, in fact, I can even read exactly what the Justice Bega at the time said. I'm sure you've seen that.
No, what is the Bega case?
Okay, so let me read what
please read it.
It's the 1994, 1996. It's Ghana Bar Association versus Attorney General. I don't recall exactly what the matter was, but this is what it says. Without mincing words, the ultimate result this action is intended to achieve for the plaintiff is the removal of the second defendant as Chief Justice of Ghana. And as a fallout, a judge of the Supreme Court, the substratum of the plaintiff's case, as we have stated earlier, is that the second defendant is not a man of high moral character and proven integrity to be the Chief Justice. Ipso facto, a judge of the Supreme Court, since the qualifications are admittedly the same. 4, if the second defendant is disqualified from occupying the post of Chief Justice on grounds of lack of integrity, I do not see how he can continue to be a judge of the Supreme Court. There's also one that someone has actually sent, which has to do with Justice Amadou Tango. That's more recent. When Justice Tokonu filed for some injunction applications when she felt that something wasn't being done rightly. Now, per Tanko Amadou's statement on this matter, where he says that and this was on the 28th May 2025, where it says the above, and there's a portion which I'm going to quote. The above observations provoked by paragraph 12 of the applicant's affidavit aside, I need hardly say that I arrived at the conclusion that this application must fail without relish, mindful of the fact that the applicant, Honorable Lady Chief Justice of the Republic, is going through a process that may define her career on the bench as Chief Justice and as a judge, one way or the other. So I'm saying that justices or judges have made some pronouncement on this matter as to whether the matter is consolidated, whether it is dual, or one does not affect the other. Do you get the point I'm making?
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know whether that changes your position on this matter, or you still think that it will be a very useful exercise, if for nothing at all, for it will improve our legal jurisprudence.
It will be a very useful exercise because in all of those cases, yes, I've heard what you said and I heard what lawyers said, and it's true. But we have to determine the value of these statements in the context of the judgment, because judgments are divided into two, sometimes into three. The most important part of the judgment is what the lawyers call the ratio. The ratio is the law. That is the case law. Now the judge goes on to say other things when he's writing the judgment. So those other things that he says are categorized as obiter dictum. Obiter dictum is not the law. It's the ratio that is the law. But the judge is always allowed to pour out obiter to guide us in the future and to get lawyers to pick it up and do some more research on it, etc., etc. My view of the matter is that these things that you have read in both the Judicial and the Sprega one, they appear to me as the obiter. They don't appear to me as the ratio. In the case of the Dateban ruling, for instance, the ratio was clear. The matter that was before the court and the question put before the Supreme Court was whether or not, in the case of the Chief Justice's removal, a purported petition so to do, who does the prima facie? Because it wasn't obvious. And so the court came in to fill the gap. I think that they didn't fill it as much as they should have, because they said the prima facie ought to be done between the President and the Council of State. Chief Justice Stockholm continues to complain that she has not received that document, because you see, that document really is the basis of the trial. That prima facie decision made by the President. But it's a document that ought to be handed over to her.
Is she entitled to the document?
She is entitled to her, and also entitled to the petitioner. And also given to the committee, because that is the basis of the trial. So a letter comes to the President that please remove Chief Justice Bafoboni because of so and so and so and so and so that he has done, which is being alleged by a Ghanaian. So the President takes it and says that, sends it to the Chief Justice and says, this is what somebody has said. And so Chief Justice says, on point 1, I think so and so, on point 2. So the President and the Council of State have before them the complaint from the petitioner and the Chief Justice's response. They look at that, conduct some preliminary research. They can ask BNI to do something. They can ask National Security to do something. They can ask Yoko to do something based on the allegations that have come. When they get all this information, they sit together and make a determination that on this one, this allegation was made, the answer given by the Chief Justice is not sufficient. It does not answer this and this and this, and therefore it requires a trial to do so. On this one, we think that this second one is dismissed. On this third one, we think that you have not answered so and so. So when Chief Justice goes to the committee, she knows the deficit and the work that has been placed on her shoulders. She clearly knows, and the committee also knows what they are trying. But without that document, you go to the committee and you stand there and say, okay, you are here. You wrote a letter to the President responding to the allegations. The President and the Council of State think that the prima facie case has been made. So let's start. I mean, how do you do that? That's the ghost trial. How do you do that? She has to be told that this allegation that came against you for the transfer of this person, your answer was so and so and so. But if you look at the allegation, this answer you gave is insufficient because you have not answered da. This process requires some cross-examination between you and the petitioner. And for the committee to listen. And therefore, you have to come and answer. So when she's going, she knows that I'm going to be confronted with this allegation. They think that my answer was not sufficient. If I have more documents to push my answer, I take those documents along. But if she goes into a dark room, so to speak, in quote, and you are trying her, and there's the prima facie, which is the basis of the sermons, is not there, I'm not sure how that happened. But anyway, that's her allegation.
Even proceed to adjudicate over this matter, for want of a better word, without telling her why she's there.
Without offering her the prima facie, that's what Ayuko has been.
As in documentary.
Yes, that's what Ayuko has been crazy about. That where is the prima facie determination? What went into it?
I should have been told at the committee.
Yes, she asked the committee, they don't have it. Kweku Azar.
Oh, she asked the committee, they said they don't have it?
Several times. She said that, Ayuko has said that. Kweku Azar, when she wrote a petition to President Akufo-Addo, wanting the removal of Chief Justice Stockholm. The process that Akufo-Addo went through, the prima facie determination was sent to him that they have made a prima facie on this and this and that, and we don't think that you have a case. It was also given to Stockholm. In the case of other people, that Stockholm was presiding as Chief Justice, and petitions went to her for the removal of these people, forwarded to her by the President, some important institutions of state. She had made a prima facie determination, sent it back to the President. The President sent it to the petitioner. So the prima facie must be there. that the prima facie is not there, if it is true that it's not there, I mean, I don't understand.
Paul.
Maybe that's why Sophia Kufu is speaking the way she's speaking.
That's fine, but I'm saying that documentary evidence of the basis for establishing a prima facie case against her, is this something she's entitled to as of right or out of courtesy?
If we conclude
yes.
that she's not entitled to it as of right,
yes.
it is like sending somebody to court and not specifically telling him why he's there.
Right.
That's what it means. It's like come to you and they say that you have been charged for stealing and this and that and that. So they say you have been charged for stealing, contrary to section so and so, for doing this, that.
Right.
So you go to court and say, my lord, I didn't do this. So what is not in issue, you don't talk about it in court. Right. What is in critical issue, you talk about it in court. But if you give a carte blanche trial, so she goes and she's not sure who the witnesses are, you even have to file the witnesses that on this matter, we are going to ask this person to come and testify because he said this. On this matter, we're going to do this. On this matter, we're going to do that. She indicated another process where during the process, in the first instance, when they went there to set out the rules, lawyers do that. They go there to set out the rules of the engagement. Her lawyer went to that meeting, and the people said that, the committee said, according to Ayikoyotu, that because she, the subject, is not present, her lawyer will not be recognized. Even though letters had been written to the lawyer prior to that process. This is what Ayikoyotu said. Letters had been written to the lawyer prior to that process. So the committee had already recognized the lawyer by writing letters to him that you are a lawyer for Tokonu, let her do this, let her do that. Those communications had been had. But then the lawyer comes to the Edu Lodge on day one, and he's told that, where is your client? She's not here. The subject of the prisoner here. Oh, then we cannot recognize you. So they proceed to develop the rules of engagement without the participation of her lawyer. If these matters are true, then it may make sense why Justice Sophia Kufu may say that it's unfair. It may make sense why the Ghana Bar Association's resolution was to that effect as well, read at the bar conference last week. But we really have to be sorry if these things are true. And we perhaps have to ventilate these matters in a better way. But I don't know how. As I said, it has become a political question.
Wow. Hamza.
Yes. Moro. I think that I have done justice to the matter beforehand already, even before Paul came into the studios. But you see, I agree that you are likely to think that when it comes to the forum that the Chief Justice and her lawyers decided to choose in this particular instance, the appropriate forum would have been the Supreme Court. But I have read through many of the concerns that she's raising, and it borders on also a measure of judicial review when it comes to the work of the Commission of Inquiry. And so I can understand the strategy behind his lawyer's decision to go to the High Court instead. Because remember that the High Court is still placed, included with the legal authority of reference to the Supreme Court in terms of many of these cases. So the door in that regard would still be open for them to attempt to force an interpretation or push through an interpretation of Article 146 as to whether indeed there's a difference between the office of the Chief Justice and that of a Superior Court judge. I hold a firm position that in as much as we think that there's some kind of difference, one would have to be a Superior Court judge before you are made a Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. And if you look at Article 1461 that I read, it was quite clear on grounds of stated misbehavior that a Superior Court judge can be taken out of office on the basis of that particular Article 1461. And to the extent that the Chief Justice and the petitions that came against her had to do with her role as a justice of our superior courts, I think that it is only fair for us to conclude by legal deduction that indeed you cannot continue to sit on the bench. And Moro, if you look at Article 128, the office of the Chief Justice, it makes the Chief Justice part of the superior court. If you look at our constitutional provisions, the Chief Justice is part of our superior court. So the Chief Justice sits on the Supreme Court. She's a member of the Court of Appeal per Article 1368. She's also a member of the High Court per Article 139, and also to a very large extent, a member of the Regional Tribunal. So you cannot have such a Superior Court judge sitting on all our superior courts, and yes, or being a member of our superior courts, and yes, till when she is taken out of office as Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, you still want her with the tag of stated misbehavior to continue to be a member of the Supreme Court of the Republic of Ghana. I'm struggling to understand how that can be done. But like he indicated, and on that score, I don't disagree with him. That is not a decision for me to make. It is a decision of the Supreme Court to determine whether indeed there should be a difference when it comes to the Superior Court Judge Tokono and that of Chief Justice Tokono as she then was, not long ago. So that determination undoubtedly will be made by the courts. And I wouldn't want to belabor that point. We'll leave it to the Supreme Court to determine. But based on the legal architecture, legal text that I'm privy to have read, and our legal jurisprudence, I don't see why the Supreme Court will reach a different conclusion. And many of the cases you read, that inclination and direction have been given, including the decision that was read by Madibo Okran in the Frank Ajichum case, where he was emphatic that indeed, if you are a Supreme Court judge and you are taken out of office, or if you are a Chief Justice and you are taken out of office, it affects your role as a Supreme Court judge. So that is a decision for the Supreme Court to take, or the High Court, based on this power of reference, can refer the matter to the Supreme Court to make a determination on.
How about the argument he makes about entitlement to the how do you call it, the
prima facie
case? Yes, that's the
yes. I think I have listened to that debate also.
Right.
And in all honesty,
sorry, I'm told we need to take a break. I beg you, we need to take a break. I'm so sorry about that. We need to take a break. So you're watching Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. Please don't go anywhere. It's only going to get better. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us.
Various flavors. Ubenya eyako, ubenya nemchie. Yeduku jollof muma emu yede. Ubenya yeduku nkwan, yeduku froyemu. Ho na kopebito. Na ema weduane enyede. Unyiminia. Yenkon yonko tie nyankofo eka.
Download your communication to ni all enjoy Oduba. That's some spices. One in the essence don't fly. I'm going to get it. Samu spices in a side. Daddy so say. Samu spices. Samu spices. Nyama chicken.
Samu spices. Nsaka in Ketwa, measure 10 grams. Yawa chicken, spaghetti, garlic and ginger, stew, and jollof, and the flavors of Bebre.
Samu spices. Yes, Saka.
In my line of work, a confident smile is everything. Kel Charcoal toothpaste keeps me on top of my game and ensures my smile is always radiant and bright.
With the tiring nature of my job, we spend several hours under the scorching sun. To keep our teeth white and our breath fresh all the time, we use none other than Kel Charcoal toothpaste. Kel Charcoal toothpaste. You're on a Kessie and in a kit one.
Samayo kendini, ehu behia, semetra sapapadia to amame manfo. Kel Charcoal's natural ingredients, eno, ene bombe seho bine, and maniswing, ne sansu mama hotoso, e will beg you.
Kel Charcoal toothpaste. Choose Kel Charcoal toothpaste for anti-cavity, whiter teeth, and fresher breath all day. Available in 80 gram and 150 gram. Grab yours today.
Kel, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
Yes, next. Hey, Nadia Benson.
Me didn't tum. Miss your friend Kalika, just call me cockroach. Now miss your friend me once now. Hey, that's you. Improve. Yeah. Captain was key to double the action. Me did this sasso spray. Miss your friend is sasso quell. Yeah, go to my sasso.
Tum preko.
Some loves are born in the blink of an eye.
I've been madly in love with her since the first time I saw her. Then let's get married today.
I'll be the happiest woman in the world by your side.
And they kill your soul in a flash. Televisa presents You Are the One. Angela dreams of keeping her promise to be a great doctor and help her people. To Alvaro, ambition is stronger than his dream. And this greed will lead him to commit the worst betrayal to the woman he loves.
I will have a husband no matter what.
Samantha, will you please marry me?
Turning all her dreams into painful disappointments and dangerous consequences.
I've been waiting for you to answer my calls, Alvaro. I haven't heard anything from you. I've sent you so many messages, but you've never responded.
Have you left the bus station?
I just want to pay my debt and get out of here.
Her photographs are going to sell fast and she will be our gold mine. Our clients will love those.
Are you looking for a boyfriend? Are you all right?
You Are the One, proudly sponsored by The Luckiest, Appointed Time Printing, Time Herbal Mixture, Samu Spices, Givers Herbal Center, Blue.
You're watching Good Morning Ghana on Metro Television. My name is Audu Moro. The show, I need to remind you, is live on 94.1 FM. Also, I need to remind you that we're live on satellite and also on the multi-TV platform. So just grab a decoder and watch the show wherever you may find yourself. All you need is a decoder and you're good to go. You can also watch us on our digital platforms. On Facebook, it's a Metro TV Ghana. So as you see it beautifully written on your screen. So join the conversation, Metro TV Ghana, on Facebook, on X, on YouTube, and obviously on IG as well. Now, Hamza, you were about to talk about this issue of whether the Premier Fascier, the basis for the establishment of the Premier Fascier, should be made known to the Chief Justice.
The point I intend making on the matter is that, if my memory serves me right, I think that the Chief Justice, now sacked, still has a case before the Supreme Court, and we are all waiting for a substantive determination of that particular case that is before the Supreme Court. But she raised the issue of prima facie in that particular case as well.
Yeah.
And this is one caution I want to throw out, especially when it comes to the legal field. What may appear convincing and make sense to the ordinary man on the street may not be supported by any legal principle. And we have to be very careful. I listened to my brother Paul's rendition on the relevance of such a declaration or determination of prima facie being made available to the Chief Justice and the relevance of that when it comes to dispensation of justice. And I was taken aback because of the limited appreciation, especially when it comes to judgments. of this nature. And I'm going to read directly an aspect of the decision of Justice Amadou Tanko in that same case that was presented before the Supreme Court on the issue of the establishment of prima facie and the fact that it was not given to Madam Tokono. This is what Justice Tanko said in the ruling. The next ground on which the applicant invites the court to restrain the committee is that the prima facie determination was not judicious, as it was rendered without reasons. Are you following?
Yeah.
The concerns of Paul. I have cautioned myself against prejudicing the substantive relief sought in this action.
Right.
And he continues, however, it is not in doubt that the applicant herself has acknowledged the existence of a prima facie determination, however described.
Okay.
Because it was on the basis of that she decided to go and meet the commission of inquiry. And based on which she filed those cases at the Supreme Court. And that is what Justice Amado is saying. It's insightful. However, it is not in doubt that the applicant herself has acknowledged the existence of a prima facie determination, however described. Whether the form and content of that determination render it a nullity due to the alleged absence of reasoning is a matter to be determined at the substantive hearing. So that case is pending before the Supreme Court. And he doesn't end there. He says, be that as it may, I am not oblivious to the jurisprudence from this court that a judgment rendered without reasons is by any means a judgment.
Hey. A judgment read without reason.
A judgment rendered without reasons is by any means a judgment.
Right.
And this is Justice Amado speaking, a justice of the Supreme Court. Be that as it may, I am not oblivious to the substantive hearing. Be that as it may, I am, where's the listen? I am not oblivious to the jurisprudence from this court. Jurisprudence from this court. There's a litany of cases that support that assertion, that legal principle that Justice Amadou espoused in his judgment. And he says that a judgment rendered without reasons is by any means a judgment.
Right.
So the effect of this particular quotation from Justice Amadou is that, look, even if we agree that His Excellency President Mahama and the Council of State failed to give you reasons behind the determination of a prima facie case, it does not nullify the process. Because even in our jurisprudence, a judgment can be made without reasons. So you are not entitled as a matter of right to the report of the prima facie determination. You are not.
Paul says you go to court. He cites example of taking somebody to court. You get to court, and you don't tell the person why the person is in court.
And what do you mean by you are not told that the committee wrote to her?
Right.
His Excellency President Mahama, even before she appeared before the committee, gave her copies of the petition to respond to. Have you forgotten when she demanded same?
But would that be sufficient enough?
But these were the allegations against her. So she knew the allegations before her that was against her. Indeed, in this particular judgment, the Supreme Court held that based on her responses and her conduct, it was clear that she knew the charges against her. And that is a decision of the Supreme Court.
But Hamza, bear with me. When the presidency wrote to her, never mind the fact that she complained that she hadn't been told why, blah, blah, blah. When the president wrote to her and told her that, look, these are the allegations that have been made against you, she wrote back to the president. She gave her responses. And then the president obviously will ferry that to the Council of State, and then they'll look at it and say, well, based on her responses, she still has questions to answer. Now, based on the allegations and her responses to the allegations, they then arrive at a prima facie determination.
Yes.
Now, would you say that the fact that she's been told that these are the allegations that have been made against her, based on which she responded to those allegations, is sufficient enough to say that I know why I'm being asked I know why I am being asked to go and face a committee and respond to? Is that sufficient?
It should. It should suffice. And you see, Moro, let me explain. These were allegations that were leveled against her. She was given copies of the petition.
Yes.
She sat down, responded to every allegation on the petition. You understand?
Right.
Interestingly, the presidency, in consultation with Council of State, looked at her response as against the allegations raised in these petitions and concluded that she needed to answer more questions in relation to the allegations that were leveled against her. But this is one point that we are all missing. When you make a case in court and a prima facie determination is made, the one making that determination, because of information available to him or her at that material moment, may think that only ground A, allegation B can be supported. Yeah. And probably would think otherwise of some of the allegations. But because it is not a final judgment, there's still an avenue for deeper legal scrutiny to be applied. You do not just say that because I have made a determination in allegation A, B, and so let it slide, the others should go. It is only proper for you to sail same through to the Commission of Inquiry that is clothed with the constitutional responsibility of arriving at a final determination for the government to take action on.
All right.
For all you know, when that is done, and they conclude that, look, Madam Tokono, you have no questions to answer. You can be allowed, she could have been allowed to go scot-free. But in this case, the Constitution is the members of the commission in their wisdom felt that the allegations were grounded.
Okay.
And decided to advise His Excellency President Mahama in line with what they found out.
Right.
And like I have read out to you, the matter of the determination of the prima facie and its absence of a report sent to her is still before the Supreme Court. But even though we all acknowledge that it's still before the Supreme Court, Justice Amadu tells us that this is the position of the law.
Okay.
And it should be clear to any of us around this table that it shouldn't be difficult for us to anticipate the position of the law when it comes to the issue of the determination of the prima facie.
Okay.
Again, Paul makes references to allegations made by her lawyer that indeed the lawyer was walked out of the proceedings. Interestingly, we are all listening to one side of the debate. And I have had cause on this very platform to question the conduct of the Chief Justice, sacked now, on her failure to abide by the terms of Article 146 and the fact that she decided to more or less disregard the injunction on us to ensure that these discussions were held in camera. Fortunately for us, members of the committee, I'm pretty much convinced, have resisted the temptation to get into the media. So we only listen to one side of the allegation to the effect that, look, I was sacked because Madame Tokono was not in court. The Commission of Inquiry did not come to clear the position because, per our constitutional injunction, they are not supposed to do so. But it does not make that position the right position. The fact that the lawyer says that she was denied access does not mean that it was actually what happened. Because remember, we are dealing with a woman who has shown consistency in her appetite to flout constitutionally laid down principles as far as these processes are concerned.
And that's
from the leaking of the petitions that were given to her to an address of a press conference on the substantive issues that were before the Commission of Inquiry, at the time the Commission of Inquiry was doing this work, flouted a decision of the Supreme Court that sought to embolden and affirm Article 146 to the effect that these discussions ought to be held in camera.
Right.
So how can we trust the word of such a lady to the effect that her counsel was denied access because she was not present? For all you know, if we have the opportunity of engaging the commission members, they probably will tell us that that didn't happen.
Okay.
So, Moro, I think that I have lost the fire and steam in discussing this matter. As far as I'm concerned, it's a closed chapter in our politics. They can continue to explore legal avenues in their overzealous attempt to overturn what they consider as being unjust. But I can assure you that I see absolutely nothing wrong with the process. And I am convinced that the decision, as it was put out by His Excellency President Mahama
Okay.
clearly also borders on her role
as
a judge of the Supreme Court.
Let me read some messages from our viewers, and we don't take our viewers lightly at all. We value them, we cherish them. So let's bring them in. So, Moro, it is absurd to hear senior lawyers in this country argue that the processes for the removal of the Chief Justice and that of our Superior Court justices are different. Hence, Madame Tokono is not removed as a Superior Court justice. And it says, note, to be a justice of the Superior Court of Ghana, a person must be of high moral character, have proven integrity, and have a minimum of 15 years of experience as a lawyer. High moral character and proven integrity are the key words to take note here. A Superior Court judge must demonstrate exceptional personal conduct and reputation for honesty. It is impossible to remain a justice of a Superior Court when she has been investigated and found guilty on matters bordering dishonesty and faulty reputation. It is conclusive under the circumstances that once she has been found guilty and removed from office as Chief Justice, she can't keep her status as a Superior Court judge. Sadat Kishiwale Esquire, he's a private legal practitioner as well. And I think that what you're saying raises the matter of Article 128. I believe that's where you're coming from, which has to do with the moral integrity that or the qualities of to qualify to be a Supreme Court judge. I believe that's where that you're coming from. And then this one from Ali Hureya, who's the NDC Zongo, Great Accra Regional Caucus, says, good morning. So, can the Chief Justice feel comfortable working under this government if all things go well on her side? I'm just asking, please. That's Ismaila Hureya, Ali, Great Accra Regional Zongo Caucus Coordinator for National Democratic Congress. So, this one here says that okay, so Mansa Musa has waded into what determines the competitiveness of an elections, whether it's only outcome or the processes also matter. So he says, Captain Moro, competitiveness does not depend on just the outcome of the elections. The processes leading to the conclusion can also be competitive. Irrespective of the actual results, a landslide win may also come after a competitive race as demonstrated by 2016-2024 election results. It is only when an opponent decides mid-race not to contest or compete. On this basis, the elections can be described as uncompetitive. Good morning from Mansa Musa. Alhaji Hamza Pekfam says, good morning, my brother. In my humble opinion, Madam Getu Tokono has every right to test the court once again. No one can stop her from doing that. But I don't know whether the High Court was the best place for her to go, since this has a lot to do with constitutional issues. In my opinion, she's doing all this to have access to the retirement benefits, something she was advised to go and sit down with the president to negotiate, and she refused. I think from the position of the Chief Justice to Supreme Court is a demotion, but let's see how it goes. Eben from Kwabenya says that the Galamsey, okay, so this one is about Galamsey. We're not there yet, and so I'm not going to read it. Okay, all right. Oh, sorry. Musa Batwa Asawasi says, those advising his former Chief Justice are not doing her any good. If you breach the code of conduct as a lawyer, someone who should know better, why do you expect the law to, what do you expect the law to do? She can run to The Hague, but it will not help her or her collaborators. When Charlotte also face similar fate, she didn't exhibit frustration as Tokono is doing. The law is a law. Mura, I respectfully ask you to send my warm regards to my father, Dada Atuahoy. I wish him long life and prosperity. Okay, so let's get on with Galamsey. Galamsey is big. It's still on the front burner. Today, the Catholic Standard has a very interesting editorial on it, where it says that alarm bells are tolling for Ghana, and they are tolling loud. Illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey, has now reached crisis proportions under the leadership of President John Dramani Mahama, ravaging farmlands, poisoning water bodies, and threatening the very survival of communities across the nation. From the mighty Pra and Ankroba rivers to the Ofin and Birim, once proud lifelines of agriculture and fishing, what flows today is a cocktail of mercury, cyanide, and sludge. Whole stretches of fertile land have been gooped open, forests stripped bare, and villages left choking on dust. This is not just an environmental issue, it is an existential threat to our nation's survival, said a senior Catholic priest in Accra. We are destroying the gift of creation that God entrusted us to do, and in doing so, we're gambling with the future of our nation. It's a very interesting article. I may want to urge you to grab today's Catholic Standard. It's a very interesting article. I may not be able to, in fact, I can't read everything because we don't have a lot of time. But if you look at the Daily Statesman and the New Weekend Crusading Guide, it appears that some efforts are underway to deal with Galamsey. So the New Weekend Crusading Guide says NIMO swoops rescues forest reserves from Galamseyers. And then also the Daily Statesman says that NIMO swoops secures a Trimampunia forest from Galamseyers. So I'll look at the Daily Statesman one first, which is on page 3. And it says that the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, NIMOS, has launched a major operation that has secured parts of the Trimampunia Forest Reserve in the Ashanti region from illegal miners and armed gangs. The swoop was carried out in collaboration with troops from the 4th Infantry Battalion of the Ghana Army in Nyafutu, within the Nkawia Forest District of the Offin Shelter Belt, an area long plagued by destructive Galamsey activities. Acting on tightly held intelligence, the task force moved into the community at dawn. Upon arrival, they observed excavator tracks across the area, suggesting that some heavy machinery had been moved out just hours before their entry. Inside the forest itself, the team found widespread evidence of illegal mining, with several portions of the reserve degraded and scarred by excavation. Now, the presence of the task force caused panic among illegal miners on site, many of whom fled into the bush. The joint team pressed ahead, dismantling and destroying makeshift mining structures hidden within the forest, and some seizures were also made. Now, the New Crusading Guide has an entirely different story, which has to do with a fight against Galamsey, but in a different area. Here it says the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat has now swooped and rescued the Trimampunia Forest Reserve. Oh, it's actually the same thing. Sorry about that. From the claw of illegal miners, Galamsey and armed brutes in Ashanti region. Some illegal miners on the site fled on seeing the task force. The team consequently conducted a series of raids and so on and so forth. So, yeah, it appears that Paul, we're doing something about Galamsey. What's your take on the stories that I've just evident? So this is the 9 months activity in the Trimwa. No, where exactly is this, Annie? Oh, in from. Okay. All right, Paul. Galamsey, matters arising.
Well, the Galamsey question is a big question, and the only reason why it's become politically topical again was because of the president's responses at the maiden press conference that he gave, and also because of the posturing of the NDC during the 2024 campaign. Now, during the 2024 campaign, the NDC had said to Ghanaians that this Galamsey issue was to be laid fairly and squarely on the desk of the government of the day. In particular, President Akufo-Addo. Allegations were made that President Akufo-Addo himself and key appointees of his government were perpetrators of this Galamsey process. It was untrue then, and it's untrue now. The conversation is to the point that if you said this in opposition and now you are in government, how come that we are having this outcome? It's a simple equation that is confronting the National Democratic Congress and the government of President Mahama because of what was said and the political advantage that was taken, by the NDC. But it is a menace. And it is also true that it has grown within the last few years. Recently, Miracles Abuaje has been on a media thing to show that the Galamsey problem was not an Akufo-Addo creation. It actually started from Professor Mills. Professor Mills started taking the steps to deal with Galamsey. And but the advantage was taken up by the NDC, and now they have to confront it. The NDC is in a difficult situation. If you listen to Mohamed Yamin saying on radio and television that if you say you're a minister today in the NDC government, it is that Galamsey boy who you are calling a criminal that made you a minister. There's a lot of meaning into that. And Yamin Mohammed was talking about this after it had been published that the Attorney General also had mentioned him as being responsible for Galamsey in Ashanti region. So if what Yamin is saying is right, what does he mean by if you are a minister in the government today, it is the people who do Galamsey who made you a minister? That must be investigated, and that settles the concerns that many had to the extent to which the NDC was taking advantage of this Galamsey matter in the election. And Yamin is coming out to say it, that these are the Galamseyers. He's almost calling them partners to the campaign, because he's suggesting that if you're a minister today and you think you're a minister, it is a Galamsey boy who made you a minister. So there was a partnership in the campaign that perhaps Ghanaians may have been unaware of.
But did Joseph Yamin use the word Galamsey boys?
No, he didn't say that. He said a criminal. He was responding to the allegation that he's being investigated for Galamsey. He said, those criminals, those boys you are calling criminals, calling them criminals, they made you minister. Those boys, he said, yes, he may be a criminal, but it is being a criminal that made you a minister. So what is the nexus between a criminal conduct and a person becoming a minister in President Mohammed's government? That's what we need to investigate.
Right.
Now we are hearing that it's getting to the Volta River, which is what we were hoping will never happen. That's what the people who are monitoring the Galamsey are reporting, that it's getting to the Volta River. President Mahama says that state of emergency is not an immediate thing that has to be done.
Right.
But if you look at the 120 days ambition that the government sets for itself, you will find in there stop all illegal mining or ban all illegal mining in one of the 120 days agenda that the government set. So if the president, he who is in charge, says that, yes, state of emergency, I hear you, but it's not something that is immediate, and he gives his reasons, which are true, it's going to have an economic implication on the government, it's going to have an employment situation on the government. These are the things that he said. So he has firmly moved the Galamsey conversation into a political question. And that's why you see the Catholic Bishops' Conference coming out for the first time to say that what Ghanaians heard at the press conference may be new, but it's not new to them.
No, not the first time asking, because they've
no, I mean, they've come the first time since this government. In fact, they went on a demonstration in Akufo-Addo era.
Yes.
The Catholics organized a demonstration in Akufo-Addo era.
Right here, Christ area.
Yes, and so they've come out the first time in the government to tell us that what we heard at the press conference, we may have been hearing it for the first time, but they have not been hearing it for the first time because they revealed that they have been engaging with the president.
Right.
And that on 2 occasions that they engaged with him, the answers were very similar. And that makes them very worried. We didn't know that. It was in the Catholic Bishops' Conference statement.
Yeah.
So that means that the positioning of the government and where the government stands on Galamsey is pretty strong. If on 2 occasions the Catholic Bishops' Conference have been told the same thing, they didn't say exactly what they were told, but they say that it is very similar to what was said at the press conference, that the state of emergency is a problem because this is a cash cow. It's giving us a lot of money. And it also is creating some reliefs in the employment sector for young people. If that is the position of the government, then we may be in trouble. If now we are hearing that it's going to the Volta Lake, but it has really become a political question, and the political question is answered by the NDC. The NDC must answer the political question. The ministers who were on ground here on Good Morning Ghana, this table, if this table can talk, it can tell you how many bottles had been put here of dirty water and all of that on this Good Morning Ghana program. Some of those ministers today are missing. They are not talking about Galamsey anymore, and that's what hurts the political class. And that's what makes people lose interest in the political class. And that's a critical matter. That's the most critical part of the matter. It's not about NDC government. It is about sustaining democracy. And if we are not able to give our political class credibility, if the political class do not afford themselves the credibility so that the people can have hope and confidence in the political class, then we are running a democracy that's on one leg. The political class, who are cabinet ministers today, who shouted on top of roofs that Galamsey was a problem for the president, that Galamsey needs to be stopped. Yesterday also, Samuel Kuyeto-Ablakwa, the foreign minister, was on City TV and reiterated the position that Galamsey is a menace, he has to be stopped. But his way of campaigning against Galamsey and putting it firmly on the doorstep of the MPP government, and Sami Jemfi sat in this chair and said that, who is asking us to come and be partners? Will you people, the criminals, do the Galamsey and we the opposition? How can we be partners in this? Go and solve your problem. And the people believed it. The citizenry believed it.
At the time, context, Paul, but at the time, you remember that conversation came up because of the Professor Frimpong Boateng report.
Yes.
And in that report, some names of persons were mentioned as being involved in Galamsey, whether directly or indirectly. Mm-hmm. And so that was what the NDC took advantage of. So it wasn't as if the NDC just got up and started mentioning names out of...
No, I'm not saying the NDC mentioned names. Professor Frimpong Boateng's report didn't mention Akufo-Addo.
No,
and Professor Frimpong Boateng's report is not stronger than the Attorney General's recommendation.
Right.
The Attorney General is recommending national officers of the NDC. The Attorney General, the government's principal legal advisor, the owner of all the investigations under Article 88, he is saying that Joseph Yamin has to be investigated, he's involved. So that is a certain value. Professor Frimpong Boateng was the chairman of an interministerial committee and claimed that he had given this report to the government 2 years earlier or something like that. He was no longer a minister. The government's view of the matter is different. The government's view of the matter is that Professor Frimpong Boateng wanted to continue as Minister for Environment. Akufo-Addo lost interest because it looked like he couldn't handle the Galamsey matter and did not retain him as minister. Some people believe that as a result of sour grapes of not being retained as Minister for Environment, some people seem to have evidence about he campaigning ferociously to Minister of Environment, and some people even say that he threatened that if he's not Minister of Environment, he's going to publish some report one way or the other. Other people talked about Professor Frimpong Boateng's son, Jojo, being part of the process and all of that. So it's an infighting that came within the MPP context. And then Frimpong Boateng's report came out. But it is not stronger than the Attorney General's report. So if there's a Frimpong Boateng report and there's an Attorney General report, the issue I'm raising is that these politicians...
Sorry, the Attorney General's report, you're talking about Dominic Ayine.
Yes, Dominic, yes.
Now, the reason, in fact, it wasn't based on a question somebody asked him.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
It was based on
a question somebody asked him. So the point I'm trying to make is this, that somebody made an allegation that Joseph Yamin was involved in Galamsey. Attorney General says, okay, you claim the person has made an allegation. Let's investigate it. It's not the same as what you said earlier, which was that Joseph Yamin is involved. It's somebody who said it. But we don't know it as a fact.
No, the Attorney General said that he has been in the process. Attorney General was
he said he's investigating. That's
yes, he said he's investigating.
Yes,
he set out. Attorney General was informing us that he's already on the investigation.
Yes, but until
he's on the investigation.
But until unless the investigations are done, we can't say categorically that Joseph Yamin is involved.
Yeah,
because we also have to protect the parts from
the same way that. But you're saying that we're making my point. Why is the Frimpong Boateng then an issue? Frimpong Boateng's own is a one-sided story. You are saying until and unless an investigation is completed. Yes. Frimpong Boateng, was there an investigation completed?
I never said it's a fact.
Aha. So I'm telling you that
it was the
put aside the Frimpong Boateng. Put aside the Frimpong Boateng. Put aside the Attorney General.
Yes.
It is the attitude of politicians that we are fearing that the people will lose interest in. Yeah. Because these are people who said a lot of things. LGBT matter, for instance. Why has it gone quiet? Yeah. These are people who are today cabinet ministers. They have the power to do what they have to do. Speaker of Parliament said over his dead body. President Mahama said we'll pass it. LGBT, nobody talks about it anymore. Sam George, communication minister, the avatar of the LGBT lobby. He doesn't even talk about it anymore. These are the issues that people are looking at and wondering that, did we just follow these people? Did they take us for fools?
Okay.
What do they take us for? You heard Moses Fuamwani on LGBT recently, saying that journalists are cowards now. They can't even talk about LGBT. That's what he said. That journalists went to the press conference and expressed cowardice. That they couldn't even ask the president about LGBT. And he is up in arms about it. Because these were people who campaigned in opposition about Galamsey, about LGBT, and now they don't talk about it anymore.
Right.
They are not hurting just themselves. They are not hurting the government. They are hurting the political class and ultimately undermining the trust in democracy.
Okay. Hamza.
You see, it is exciting and interesting listening to Paul on the issue of Galamsey. And I was taken aback with his attempted justification of the Yamin issue, pulling in the Frimpong Boateng report. First of all, like you indicated, it was a newspaper publication that sought to create the impression that the national organizer of the National Democratic Congress and that of our vice chairman, Abanga, were engaged in activities that they considered untoward and derailing of the president's fight against illegal mining. Being a listening government, the Attorney General decided to act on that intel and refer the matter to another state institution to investigate. That is being proactive. That is responsibility. But you had a situation where a former minister responsible for environment presented a report in which he indicted even the president's most powerful uncle, a cousin, and no investigation was conducted. So the two are not the same. That tells you the commitment of this government when it comes to the fight against illegal mining and our readiness not to entertain any politically exposed person associated with the government or the party in matters of Galamsey. That decision should let you know that there's a difference in any case. You see, I listened to, my brother also referenced the jaundice submissions of a very good friend of mine, Miracles Abuaji, on the origin of Galamsey. And I think I monitored that engagement with them on Good Evening Ghana. And I was hugely disappointed by the lack of industry and research. Because what I know is that media men, you are supposed to hold us accountable. You do not just create a platform for us to come and free flow without any check. A simple check would have told you that the menace of Galamsey, as we have it today, did not start under President John Evans Atta Mills like they sought to create the impression on that platform, and like he's done, and he has referenced on the same platform. Indeed, the issue of Galamsey became topical, and our water bodies started getting polluted after 2003. When His Excellency President John Agyekum Kufuor was president under an MPP government. Please,
just a second. What I thought I heard Paul say, that the fight against Galamsey started from Samuel's system. I'm
talking about the fight. The first time government, Professor Mills was the first president to begin and address Galamsey as a national issue.
What I heard him say.
The water bodies, the mining, you see the mining, Galamsey has been with us for 50 years. The mining in water bodies began around 2009, and the documentary is there. The evidence was provided.
So that is why Professor Mills was speaking. You see the mischief, and I monitored the program. So if you are patient, you understand.
That program. Okay.
The water body, that 2009, that is being disingenuous to the literature.
Right.
And I'm going to demonstrate why.
Please do.
This is before me, the document, the World Bank report, Project Performance Assessment Report.
Okay.
Ghana Natural Resource and Environmental Governance First Development Policy Operation. That is by the World Bank. And this is what it said. Moro, are you listening?
Listening.
The bank had been previously engaged in the natural resource sector through investment projects. And this was World Bank report of 2003. I mean, it's in 2009, 2003. It says, the bank had been previously engaged in the natural resource sector through investment projects, notably the 1998 to 2003 Natural Resource Management Project. Slow and uneven progress on policy reform did not translate into sustainable management practices because of overlapping responsibilities, distorted incentive structures, lack of transparency, poor governance, and the declining importance of non-productive environmental concerns to government. Following this, the bank had largely withdrawn from the natural resource sectors in Ghana. That was after 2003. That is a World Bank report. Again, go and read the Chirage report of 2008 on environmental protection and the effects of mining. Where in that report, then President Kufuor was president, MPP was in power. Where in that same report, Chirage, a state institution, made references to River and Cobra, Birim, and I think the third one, I've forgotten the name of this, about the polluted nature of these water bodies.
Is that PRA?
I think PRA. Okay. These are documents that you can easily verify, even with a simple Google search. And so that's why when I watched that Good Evening Ghana program, I was hugely disappointed in the kind of production that went into it. Because I know that I won't come and sit here and you allow me to rant without holding me to account or justify any reference I make to any assertions of illegal mining. So that is the fact. Indeed, when it comes to how bad the situation had become, it was under the President Kufuor era. So where he's right is that, yes, after 2009, especially when President Mills became president, he decided to confront the matter head on. Right. And that is why by 2016, at the time President Mahama was leaving office, you saw the drone picture of the River and Cobra. That was posted by one of our celebrated drone pilots, Adam Srem.
Yeah.
You saw how clear the River and Cobra had become by 2016. And what it became in about 3-4 months under His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Moro, these are the facts. And so when we make references to these interventions that we did to alleviate the situation based on what we inherited from the NPP President Kufuor era, we were justified to be appalled and angry by the havoc that was being caused to our water bodies under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, another NPP regime. Because we are as usually creating the platform for our international partners to begin to withdraw from these sectors. That is what the literature says. Again, in 2008, 2016, when we were in the campaign, remember what? In Obuasi, this was what President Akufo-Addo said. He said, I was here in Obuasi to say that Galamsey, which I prefer to call small-scale mining, will be regularized to ensure that the youth all find work to do. Shortly afterwards, Mahama also came here to tell you that I was lying and that an Akufo-Addo government would rather sack everyone involved in Galamsey. That was the time President Mahama was mooting this idea of cooperatives to ensure responsible mining among small-scale miners. And this is what Akufo-Addo said. When he won the election, he rather directed soldiers to come and drive out all persons involved in Galamsey in Obuasi. That is Akufo-Addo referring to President Mahama. So President Mahama's record, as far as the fight against Galamsey was concerned, clearly, even His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo appreciated that effort. But what did we see upon assumption of office? Indeed, it was the media coalition of this country that decided to take Akufo-Addo to task on the issue of Galamsey, because the government had decided to be complicit and were justified for saying so. Remember that even when they banned small-scale mining for about a year or so, there were concerns of them using that so-called ban as a ruse to grab concessions for party functionaries and party associates to work. Was that not the case? We were not saying it. It was the media that was churning out many of these things. And did it stop the issue of Galamsey? Absolutely not, because they knew what they were doing. They wanted to capture the entire process. More so, these are the issues. And when people were talking about it, it was not just the NDC that was complaining about government's commitment to the fight against illegal mining. It was not the NDC. And true, yes, some of our associates or members of the National Democratic Congress agreed. And even just to put this on a lighter note, you remember somewhere in 2018, the then minister responsible for local government, Haji Ali Mahama, had cause to meet DCs and raise the issue that they had picked intel that many of them were engaged in illegal mining. Remember, in 2018. And indicated that they were keeping a tail on them and that if they don't stop their involvement in those activities, they would be dealt with. Less than 2 years, or about 2 years after that admonition, the president released a reshuffled list of district chief executives, sacked district chief executives. And one of them was the Amansi South DC, who openly defended the issue of Galamsey in his district. And coincidentally, that same day he was sacked was the same day, in August 2020, that my own brother, Dennis Miracles Abuaji, was sacked. So one can be forgiven to conclude that the earlier warning that Madam Alima Mahama gave about DCs involved in Galamsey probably influenced the decision to reassign these people because of how close they were to the issue of Galamsey. And I find unacceptable this strenuous effort by Paul and his MPP associates to create the impression that, oh, it looks like all politicians are the same. They said this and look, now you see there's no difference between the MPP and the NDC. Really? We are talking about a regime that your Kumasi mayor was engaged in mining in a forest reserve. Indeed, we are talking about a regime that made it legal through president's intervention, the presidential intervention, for
Kumasi
you to be able
mayor?
to mine in forest reserves.
Kumasi mayor?
Yes,
Or
sometime.
Ashanti? Oh, okay, sometime.
At the time.
Okay.
They are Ashanti regional chairman. And a host of them were suspected to be engaged in illegal mining activities. And indeed, the minister responsible for lands and natural resources at the time, Honorable Abu Jinapo, had cause to issue a letter about the activities of Wuntumi and Akonto mining. His Excellency President Nana Addo proceeded to clear him of these allegations publicly. And so these were the conduct that made the Ghanaian people lose confidence, because they could point to about 1, 2, 3 political appointees who were neck deep. There was video evidence of those tasked with the responsibility of dealing with illegal mining actually receiving bribes to make way for concessions. Yeah. So it was within that frame that the Ghanaian people lost confidence in the regime. And true. Honestly, let us be honest.
Right.
Many of us said that, look, there's a need for the government to act, and the government failed to act. We have one power. The responsibility is now on the National Democratic Congress government and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama to be able to confront the menace. And more,
Okay.
upon assumption of office, His Excellency moved swiftly into action. We started with a stakeholder engagement in terms of an engagement with our chiefs and communities that are closer to these illegal mining sites. We have brought on board a number of policy interventions that ticks all the boxes when it comes to the UN guidelines on sustainability. Because we are engaged in a war of getting them out, illegal miners out of our forests. We have discovered communities, full-blown communities, that for 8 years the MPP fails to discover, that were engaged in illegal mining. The NIMOS is on the ground, as I speak with you today, discovering illegal mining communities and destroying same. We have seized a number of excavators. His Excellency President Mahama has proceeded to produce a special licensing regime for imported excavators into the country and a tracking system so that we are able to track the operations of the owners of these excavators. That is progressive. Again, we launched the RCOMZ intended to ensure that we put small-scale miners into cooperatives and tie them to the district assemblies so that some amounts of money can be paid to the district assemblies to support the government's reclamation efforts when it comes to the degraded lands, and also help the people to be engaged in responsible mining. So we are ticking all the boxes, but I can understand the frustration of the Ghanaian people. They need quicker results. They need quick action because of what they were subject to in the last 8 years. So their demands are justified. But the appeal I would like to make is that we have a 4-year mandate. Moro. This is what we have been able to do in a matter of 9 months in terms of our steps towards dealing with the issue of Galamsey. Possibly after a year, we would review government interventions in that field. If we are convinced, like His Excellency President Mahama says, we are not ruling out the possibility of declaring a state of emergency. Absolutely not. If after taking stock of the interventions that we have been able to bring about, as far as that sector is concerned, and we feel strongly that there's a need for us to still continue to declare a state of emergency, be rest assured that the NDC government will not run away from that responsibility. But this attempt of strenuously trying to create the politics of equalization and create an impression as though the MPP and NDC are all the same will not be entertained. Our efforts can be verified. Our interventions are working on the ground. The results, yes, quite slow, but I can assure you that in a matter of a year, if we take stock and we are not excited about the pace, nothing will prevent His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and the NDC government from declaring the state of
I'll bring you.
It's very important.
I'll bring you.
All right.
But whilst at it, yesterday we're told the NIMOS team were somewhere in Chibi and they were fully in action. Let's watch this video.
So yeah, they are. Then I'll move this out. Almost then I'll move this out. Why?
Yeah, so this is an event that happened yesterday. There's a development somewhere in the Ebuakwa South, municipal area. That's Chibi, more specifically. And I'm told that this was led by the chief executive, the MCE for the area. I'm talking about Adoikins Jr. He led the NIMOS team to drive away the illegal miners who were involved in, Galamsey in Chibi. So it looks like NIMOS is in action. It's in full action, if I may speak. But Paul, in all of this, NDC did this, MPP did the NDC. I hope we are fully aware that the turbidity levels of our water has only gotten worse. In fact, just recently, Ghana Water Company is saying that they want more money from us to be able to treat the water. They've stopped using alum. They're now using what they call the polyelectrolyte something, which is almost 100 times what it will cost us to treat the water. That's the thing. The turbidity levels are getting worse.
That is why a lot of the things that boss lawyer said will not change anything. Emmanuel Amakofiboa this morning is reporting that illegal mining is no longer a partisan matter. No longer a partisan matter, but a shared responsibility, according to the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. The NDC in the opposition gave a clear prescription about how this can be solved. They said issue a state of emergency.
No, the NDC never said that.
Well, let me finish. You can.
That's not accurate.
Fair enough. The people are watching.
No, but Paul, it's important.
Okay, I believe that the NDC said
no.
Actors of the NDC declare a state of emergency. Sam Okudzeto Ablakwa said it. Haruna Idrisu said it. Sam George said it. Ama Kofi-Boa, who is minister today, said it. If all these people said it, but this video, what are you talking about? You haven't seen it. You haven't seen that video.
I haven't seen those videos.
Ablakwa said it in this studio. We have been showing it on Good Evening Ghana every time. The video is here. Call your people, they'll show it to you. What are you talking about? You haven't seen the video of Ablakwa. Joy FM plays it all the time. Ablakwa said it here in Good Morning Ghana studio. Declare a state of emergency. Idrisu Haruna on Joy FM. Declare a state of emergency. Ama Kofi-Boa, he was interviewed in his home, in his constituency. Declare a state of emergency. If all of these ministers, Minister for Foreign Affairs now, Minister for Education, Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, if all of these people have said that declare state of emergency is the prescription to end Galamsey, and we are being told that NDC didn't say it, fair enough. NDC didn't say it. Idrisu Haruna said it. Ablakwa said it. Lance Minister said it. They said it. But the NDC as a corporate body did not say it. If that's the point the NDC is making, fair enough. Now, you say that your ministers tell us that declare state of emergency. Who has the power to do so? The president. Sam George said the president can solve this in 1 week. By doing what? Declaring a state of emergency. And that's true. If any president were to declare a state of emergency, nobody goes there. So that's true. That will solve the problem. There's no question about that. That is true. And if you say these things and you come to government and say that, well, we are in government, as you just said, that the turbidity of the water is getting worse under your government, worse than when you said we should declare a state of emergency. At a certain turbidity level, you said declare a state of emergency. Turbidity level becomes worse. You now have the power. And you tell us that you don't want to declare a state of emergency, and we should listen to all this beautiful English being spoken by a lawyer, that we have done this, we have done you and this and that. All that is okay. It's a political question. The acting Chief Justice told the Bar Conference this week that the Galamsey has become worse under President Mahama. Felix Kwacho-Fosu, the government communication minister, says he needs evidence of that. He needs evidence of the fact that the situation has become worse. He said nobody has provided the evidence. He doesn't have the evidence. Kolebu Teaching Hospital is reporting things. He doesn't have the evidence. The turbidity of the water from Ghana Water Company, he doesn't have the evidence. These are the matters that is making the politics unbelievable. So this is the situation confronting the NDC. It is true that the state of emergency could stop Galamsey. It is true. The NDC were right in opposition, and those saying today are also right. Now this is the situation. NDC was in opposition, says that the thing is at 20%. You need to declare state of emergency, Mr. President. NDC comes to office at 60%, and they say, oh no, a state of emergency, it will come later. That's okay. It's a political question. The NDC have the power, and they have a mandate of almost 60%. So what they do with their mandate is entirely up to them. My concern is that young people should not lose interest in politics and politicians, and should not think that it is politics by the day. Boss lawyer said that it is an equalization. NPP is trying to say that. No, you can say all that. The acting Chief Justice is not a member of the NPP. He spoke at the Bar Conference. At the Bar Conference, they are talking law and legal matters and governance. Did he need to talk about Galamsey? He didn't need to. But he found the occasion to talk about Galamsey and specifically said that it has become worse. If it has become worse, and the NDC's prescription of what to do with it when it was not as bad was a state of emergency, but now that it has become worse under the NDC control, that the state of emergency is no longer necessary, it's all good. It's a political question. I leave it there. My concern is that people...
It has become worse.
It was quoted. I don't have the
Oh,
video,
at the back of it. So it's being widely quoted.
It was all over the news.
Say it was worse.
Oh, he said more things. No, he said it has become people. No, he said it has become worse. It is by greedy people who are connected to power.
Yes, he said those.
Yes. He said it has become
unless of course.
You see,
there was a speech read for him.
Paul belongs to a political party where they preach reverence for data, especially the Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. You cannot sit on this important platform and run on the assumption that the fight had become worse. Without any data. But what data?
I don't know.
You are alleging that that's what he said.
Oh, it has been published.
But this is a government that is telling you that prior to coming into office, about 43 forest reserves were under siege by illegal mining activities. We have been able to retrieve 9.
Ghana Water says the stability of the water is
so
worse.
that is one aspect
Ghana Water
of it.
says
I'll get there. Please, if you are patient, I'll get there. Yeah. Now, we have shown you evidence of thriving communities that for 8 years you and your government failed to discover. This passion you have demonstrated this morning for 8 years on your show. You could have been very useful to the Republic of Ghana and the new Patriotic Party government if you had demonstrated this passion and power. As far as
we are called for a state of emergency. Please. We are called. No, you are impugning our integrity. So I'm putting on record that we have, but you can't impugn integrity. We had on Good Evening Ghana, we are called for a state of emergency many times. What is passion? I have a platform.
I monitor your platform consistently.
But we have done
even when it was difficult for many NDC people to continue to monitor because of your activities on that platform. I made it a point to religiously.
Then you missed it because we did.
And I can tell you that the passion you have shown today, I'm pretty much convinced that if Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo HE had seen this passion coming from many of you, he would have acted on the situation. So I am giving you evidence of what we have done. Communities that we have discovered in that fight you were unable to discover. The role of the blue water gas and what it has led to in terms of discovery of illegal mining sites. The policies in place intended to track even excavators that are used to pollute these waters. And I consider that we may not have been able...
You know we have 200,000 excavators now.
Yes, I do.
The highest ever. Ghana is importing excavators more than anybody else. But where did that come from?
Exactly because of the activities of Galamsey. It started under a regime. Many of these excavators that
come in this year.
But that is the point I'm about.
But you are in charge of the port this year, lawyer. You are in charge of the port.
But that is why we have brought in a policy
to take the excavators to the military to keep it.
We are keeping it, and we are.
That's what the transport minister said.
Because we are looking for a space. Because of the licensing regime that we have introduced.
Who brought the excavators? Can you publish the names of the people who brought it? Can you publish it?
You see that this is an information you can easily have access to. Go to the Ghana Airports Company Limited. What's the name? Ghana Shippers
Authority?
Ports. Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Okay. These are pieces of information that you can.
Is chairman, by the way.
Oh, but what is wrong with that?
No, nothing wrong.
Absolutely.
I'm just putting it.
I'm just telling that you can have access to that information. If government was engaged in releasing the excavators to those who imported it haphazardly, then you would have had an issue.
All right.
But many of these containers even came in before this NDC administration took office.
Okay.
But Moro, you see, let us resist
we have to wrap up.
This false narrative that the situation has become worse. Like I indicated, the Catholic Bishops' Conference, they have every right to demand that we step up our efforts when it comes to the fight against illegal mining because they have been consistent. Same with Utah. Even under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, these bodies demanded that something be done in that regard.
All right.
And we will not disrespect and disregard their concerns. I can assure you that even after the press engagement, His Excellency President Mahama would probably be listening to these concerns. And if in the not too distant future, we feel that we have gotten to a stage where we need to declare a state of emergency, be rest assured that this government will do so. But we will resist this temptation to create an impression as though it has become worse under this government. It is not supported by any data. And that was why the minister responsible for information demanded that if we are shown evidence, then we can engage in a meaningful debate. But until that is done, these are just attempts by the NPP.
Let me bring in our viewers who are watching us on both on YouTube and also on Facebook. So I've noticed something about the MP. So this one is Amaria 1. Amaria. Hey. I've noticed something about the NPP. They always have different interpretations of our law when it comes to when it goes against them and when it favors them. That's Amaria 1. And Daniel Opintan, who's watching us on YouTube, says, how can a security coordinator be sacked for drunkenness in a company and wants to come back as security guard in the same company? Hey, Daniel. Anyway, Kasim Abu Sadiq says, why is everyone in the studio today bald? Oh, of all the things that's happening here, that's what you've seen. Kasim, why? Eh? Anyway, that's from Kasim. Anyway, that's his contribution to the conversation. Now, let me just do this too. I beg you. Now, this was a Assalamu alaikum. The fact that the Catholic Bishop Conference and other CSOs have been degagged and can freely talk on anything about the governance issues of this country means that this government is tolerant, that's what she read, and more accommodating. How can a president who's tenure in office witness a seizure of 8 of our forest reserves do better than one who reclaimed them and is still fighting the menace fiercely and relentlessly? I can't, for my life of me, fathom what this brouhaha is about. The only leeway to get at this government for now is this Galamsey matter. But the picture being painted isn't as bleak and gloomy as it is. Ears on the ground, and government is acting decisively. Juma Mubarak, and good morning to you, Sanlis. And it continues to say that, as we also say that the turbidity levels of our water bodies may be due to the heavy rains and siltation into our rivers and streams. Remember, we're in the peak of the rainy season. Even in the northern region, it rains rampantly. Just thinking aloud. Alaji Highland, I've heard your concerns, and would work on that. Thank you so very much. And Mansa Musa is back. Last one. More, I don't know how much time you have, but kindly tell my NDC that the debates are good, but the bottom line is that the situation better than we met it? If not, then honestly, the talking won't help. Thank you from Mansa Musa. Thank you very much, Paul Adomachiri, for joining us this morning. It was always great to have you. And also Hamza Suheni, a private legal practitioner in NDC, is a member of the NDC's communication team. Juma Mubarak. Bye-bye.
Obahin bebre nano poku are no mawano asante kotoko no soni ebedi akwa aboabo ho etuone to na sakra aboankwa ye de etiri beto asem no frititio efrititio odmankoma ade no yamfa anto de da na efrato odmankoma ba ade oba asante kotoko kofo okwa